Hi, my name is Carlos Quiroz of the blog Carlos in DC. This comment is about the series Black in Latin America, specifically about the episode that referred to Peru and Mexico and the racism in the Peruvian media, where this character, Negro Mama, represented very offensively a character where a black-faced person is offending Afro-Peruvians, specifically Afro-Peruvian men, portraying them as stupid criminals. First, I wanted to mention that I was born in Peru, and I know personally Monica Carrillo, the Afro-Peruvian activist that is featured in this episode. Her work with Lundu, the Afro-Peruvian organization, and other non-profits in Peru is very important, and we need to support it. I also wanted to clarify that the racism showed in Peruvian media does not represent the Peruvian people. They promote this type of media in order to oppress the majority of Peruvians, promoting a low self-esteem and the disrespect of our own cultures and the admiration of European, Anglo images of what beauty and success should look like. But we have to understand that the media in Peru and most of Latin American countries are run by people who do not care about the majorities, obviously, who do not care about educating our communities, because they prefer to maintain the population, the majority of Afro-descendants and indigenous peoples, under this oppressive culture mentality of white supremacy. This is very obvious here in the United States in the Spanish language media. When we watch Univision, Telemundo, these programs promote this image that we brown people are mostly Europeans. That is why this institutionalized racism is so strong that we are being called Hispanics and Latinos when most of our communities are indigenous Native Americans who speak Spanish and Afro-descendants who speak Spanish and many other languages. We have to understand that this is not an accident. So I wanted to clarify this because I've seen some comments on the internet where some black Americans are thinking that most Peruvians are racist. And this is not the case. I am speaking knowingly that most Peruvians don't support this type of mentality, but unfortunately, the culture of corruption and discrimination has become part of the lives of many Peruvians because they live under this continuous attack on a daily basis. Now, we can promote this to end. We can try to stop this racist media by supporting the work of those who are in Peru and by also using institutions that overlook and that protect human rights worldwide, and especially contacting the government of Peru. Now, I wanted to show you this video that I recorded over a year ago. I have edited so it can be shorter and direct. And in this video, I include information of where you can contact this private corporation in Lima that is producing this racist character. But also, I wanted to include information about the Embassy of Peru in Washington, D.C., so you can let them know that it's very offensive for anyone, not just Peruvians or black Americans, but for anyone to have this type of racist media even today. And we have to try to. This is not about nationalities and borders, and once again, this type of racist media does not represent Peruvians at all. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you for your concern and for taking action in order to promote the end of racist media in Peru. Racism in Peruvian media causes protest after offensive characters appear in a Lima television station insulting indigenous and black Peruvians. Two racist television characters are sparking controversy and causing protests in Peru after a local television station decided to include them as part of a popular comedy show. The characters portray an indigenous woman and a black man in a very offensive way. When Peruvians turn on their TV to watch one of the most popular shows in national television, they will now see two racist characters that are very offensive to the indigenous and Afro-descendant peoples of Peru. the Lima-based television station Frecuencia Latina has included, again after 5 years of absence, the characters La Paisana Jacinta and El Negro Mama, which represent a native woman from the Andes and a black man from a poor shanty town of Lima. Both characters were created and are performed by Peruvian comedian Jorge Benavides, who is a mestizo or a mixed indigenous man. In the show, Paisana Jacinta is a native woman presented as ignorant, dirty, and toothless, who just moved from the countryside of Peru to the big city of Lima. Jacinta is naive and stubborn, and she gets into trouble every time. She urinates in the streets, she steals, she lies, she cusses and fights with people, and she tries to assimilate into the urban life while wearing her traditional clothes. Negro Mama is a black man presented as a thief, a liar, a dirty man who speaks and acts like an idiot. And he cannot realize the mistakes he makes because he's too stupid to notice. This black-faced character, Negro Mama, has big lips and a huge nose. Both Paisana Jacinta and Negro Mama are fiction characters, but in reality they represent the racist stereotypes that many people in Lima think are the reflection of what the indigenous and black populations of Peru are all about. In Lima and other cities of Peru, human rights activists and organizations are protesting against this kind of racist media. They are demanding for Frecuencia Latina to stop producing this kind of media, and they want racism to be banned from the Peruvian television. The owner of Frecuencia Latina is the Israel-born Jewish businessman Baruch Ipcher, who has remained silent during this controversy. In a telephone interview with Peruvian attorney, professor, and human rights activist Wilfredo Ardito Vega, he said that these kind of programs are really dangerous because they deepen negative stereotypes against native and black peoples of Peru, presenting Andean women as dirty and ignorant and African men as delinquents. This type of media is the worst kind of hatred against non-white people, he said. Meanwhile, comedian Jorge Benavides has said to the Peruvian media that he is only creating comedy to make people laugh. He is not intending to offend anyone. But many Afro-Peruvians do not agree. On March the 25th, a group of advocate organizations of black Peruvians sent a complaint letter to Frecuencia Latina asking them to cancel the show. Members of LUNDU, the Center for Afro-Peruvian Studies and Advancement, along with the Observatorio Afro-Peruano and the campaign Sign In Against Racism, released a public statement where they protest the characters because they assure they reinforce racism against Afro-Peruvians and Native Peruvians. Mónica Carrillo, the leader of Lundu, said that both characters are attacking the human rights of Peruvians and they are affecting a democratic and multicultural coexistence that is needed among the diverse population of Peru. Sadly, some Peruvians do not consider these characters as racist, and they say they are even funny. This has an explanation on the peculiar form of racism in Peru. Most of the Peruvian population is either indigenous or Afro-Peruvian, and the mixture of them with European, Asian, and Arab minorities. But the educational system and the media usually promote a European-wide identity in the culture, the history, and especially in the beauty standards. This is particularly obvious in the advertising content found in Lima, which dominates the media nationwide. Wilfredo Ardito says that the media in Peru portrays non-white people as poor, disadvantaged, delinquents, and exotic people. They promote a wrong concept of our society, which has changed from what it used to be a century ago. Today we see many native and black peoples who are successful and economically affluent, but the media in Lima doesn't want to show that at all. Instead, they try to convince people of their own inferiority, destroying the self-esteem of many Peruvians. Therefore, Peruvians have developed an interiorized form of self-racism. that is based in a foreign beauty pattern. But Peruvians need to realize that it's not okay for the media to promote these images and to offend our communities, that these characters are deeply discriminatory. Once we recognize the problem, we need to end our self-loathing racism, which makes non-white Peruvians discriminate their own race as a way to escape reality. There has to be a process of acceptation that we are racially discriminated because there is racism in Peru, but usually Peruvians who support racist media are victims of the same racial discrimination, but they don't want to accept it, says Wilfredo Ardito, because it's very painful to admit it. Sometimes they even say that anyone who complains against racism is a traumatized person, an antisocial individual. I asked Wilfredo Ardito if this type of media content has any relation with the upcoming presidential elections in Peru, promoting a bad image of black and brown leaders. It could have a relation, he said, adding that most Peruvians don't trust white people as a result of discrimination. As Frecuencia Latina continues broadcasting both racist characters, more protests and online campaigns are planned. I contacted the offices of Baruch Ibcher at the Frecuencia Latina headquarters in Lima, but the staff in charge didn't respond to my questions about the show. However, a person at the Media Relations Office said that Frecuencia Latina intends to continue producing and including these characters, and they will not comment on the public protest. Racism affects all of us, therefore we can all do something to end it by expressing our voice in very simple actions. I have contacted the Peruvian government's Vice Ministry of Communications and 2 media watchdog organizations in Lima that are supposed to look the content of media in Peru. You can do the same. I am including in this video information where you can contact Frecuencia Latina, the Vice Ministry of Communications of Peru, and different organizations. We can all do something to end racism. Thank you so much for watching this video.